Hey guys, so it's been a while. I've had a lot going on the home front, but I have kept the idea that I'm going to continue with my videos at the front of my mind, and knowing that at the first opportunity I had where I was actually rested and caught up on homework, caught up on work, caught up on phone calls and connecting with the people that I love, basically when the stars align, that I would get still again and do another video to kind of encourage and talk about mental health. Okay, so more and more we see the issue of mental health kind of taking the forefront. It's no secret that our country is in a mental health crisis, and I am so thankful for the people who are working so hard to just kind of destroy the stigma that comes with having mental health issues, mental health crises. I'm just thankful for the people who are kind of talking about it, because it needs to be talked about. So with that said, I kind of wanted to share a little bit about my mental health issues and struggles and triumphs. So for those of you who know me like really well, you'll know that I am a painfully private person. By the time I make it to Facebook with something that says like, hey, pray for me, I have already struggled through a great deal to even ask for prayer, or ask, for someone to listen, or, by the time I'm expressing it, it's already been pretty intense. So, with that said, wanted to share a little bit about anxiety. And I know that anxiety is something that probably everyone to some degree can relate to. If you've ever done any kind of public speaking, if you've ever had a job interview, if you have kids, you know what anxiety is. Okay, so I think that there's always going to be sort of this low level of pressure that we face kind of in our daily grind that kicks up a little bit of anxiety within us. And sometimes the pressure, it helps us to perform, but then we get into a place where the pressure becomes unbearable, right? The anxiety kicks up to the point that we can sometimes become debilitated. And so that's kind of what I want to talk about tonight, because anxiety can be pretty disabling. It's not something that you can see, and for many of us who have suffered with chronic anxiety, panic attacks, panic disorder, generalized anxiety disorders, we understand probably better than most how anxiety can affect you on the daily. It affects your work, affects your friendships, it affects your health, and there's really no area of your life that it leaves untouched. And so I wanted to talk about kind of my battle, which is triumphant, with anxiety over the years, and I want to do this in an effort to encourage conversation and probably just kind of start a conversation where we bring those things that are so dark into the light, right? Because sometimes when we bring things like that into the light, they lose their power. So several years ago, this has been I've pretty much always, since I've been in my early 20s, I've pretty much always kind of on and off struggled with generalized anxiety and panic disorder. But about 4 years ago, one of my brothers was diagnosed with kidney cancer, and he doesn't have insurance, and he has a lot of other coexisting health conditions. And so this particular brother of mine, I feel towards him like he's my child. Like, I don't have any children, but I was very hands-on when he and I were growing up in protecting him, being the big sister, making sure that he was okay. And because of that, I'm very bonded, obviously very attached, and I just feel very motherly over him. And so when we found out that he had cancer, I basically reeled out of control. The anxiety, it really took over. Long story short, for him, he's okay. He had a successful surgery, and that is something that he conquered, and I'm so eternally grateful for that. But during that time, when there was a point when he was still in the hospital recovering, and I knew that he was going to be released soon, and so I could kind of feel myself starting to relax and be like, okay, you know what? It's going to be okay. The cancer's gone. They got all of it. And now I can finally let go. And how many of you with anxiety know that is like the prime time when the panic attacks sneak up on you? It's like when you finally get to a place where you can relax, where you can release and stop worrying. It's just like, that's when it seems to dig in its heels. So I really kind of became a basket case, and for about 30 days, long enough for a Paxil prescription to kick in, I was homebound. I could not leave my house. I really struggled even watching things on TV. I'll never forget one day my grandmother and my mother were at the house visiting, and just kind of checking on me, making sure I was okay. And we were just having casual convo, watching TV. And on TV there was I think it must have been like National Geographic or something, but they were exploring a tribe that wore these very dramatic long big masks. And I hate that I can't remember what tribe it was, but the masks were so dramatic, and just the visual of those sent me into a panic attack just being on the TV screen. That's how overloaded I was, that it just didn't take much of anything to kind of send me back within myself into this dark place full of fear. And I'll never forget, I told my mom, I said, you're going to have to turn that. You're going to have to turn it like now. I can't handle it. She's like, what? What are you talking about? This is National Geographic. It's something on TV. It's not a big deal. And I said, you don't understand. I can't handle it. I can't handle the dramatic imagery. It's freaking me out really bad. And I literally started sweating. My heart rate picked up. And, they saw how something that simple was just really kind of overloading me. And so they turned it. But it's a very hard thing for me to even say this publicly, because number one, I'm a business professional, and you always kind of have to lead with your chin when you're a business professional. You can't really look weak, or you'll end up sacrificing some business. So anyway, I said all that to say this. During that time, started to see a counselor who just made such a huge difference in my life. And I would be glad to give you all the contact information for this counselor if you want to contact me after this video. Just incredibly helpful, and that's just like an understatement. So anyway, I had seen a counselor for about 6 months, was really making huge strides, and then I came across a practice, a vitalistic chiropractic practice in Chattanooga. I was on Facebook actually, and because I have struggled with anxiety for so many years, just kind of doing my Google searches and whatnot, I discovered, that it was an issue with my nervous system. Nervous system, mental health, it's all tied in together. So, I'm trying to figure out, okay, how can I find out more about how my nervous system works and address this debilitating anxiety to where I can live without having to depend on medication. Okay, medication is necessary sometimes because sometimes it takes medication to pull us out. It can be a very much interventional tool that we need, and that we don't need to feel ashamed of if we have to turn to that and utilize that. But anyway, after all the years of being kind of on and off Paxil and other SSRIs and stuff like that, and just feeling kind of yucky because of those, I was just so determined to try to figure out, why is my body doing this, and how can I get it to stop doing this, and how can I get back to a place where I'm centered and not reeling out of control over seeing masks on television. And so while I was on Facebook, I saw an ad pop up about dinners with the docs, and it was about learning about the nervous system. I was like, wow, you know how Google does. Like you Google something and then you'll see 100 ads for it, and you kind of feel like, you're being watched, which you are, I guess, in a sense. But so I was like, okay, it's a free dinner, and these folks are doctors, and this is going to be so much better for my research as just a lay person who's just Googling and trying to find and trying to discern what information is good and what information is bunk. So when I saw, there was some folks who were local and they were going to talk about the nervous system, I really wanted to go. And so I went to dinner with the docs, and that is with Doctors Matt and Monica Smith with Rev Center for Optimal Living. And I will never forget when I went to the dinner. I went by myself, and I was so fatigued and so exhausted and so filled with brain fog and so filled with uncertainty, like, what happens if I get to this dinner and I have a panic attack and I need to leave? Am I going to be sitting in this big room full of people where I'm far away from an exit? If you have anxiety, you totally know what I'm talking about here. And so I was thinking through all those things, and I had to fight through all those things. It takes a lot to kind of be courageous when you're just in this perpetual state of chronic anxiety. And so I get to the dinner, and I'll never forget just like sitting there feeling exhausted, and when I see Doctors Matt and Monica get up there to do their presentation, they're like, "Hey guys, we're going to talk about the nervous system." And I'm like, oh my God, they're so energetic. Great. But long story short, that night changed the course of my life. And um, so that's kind of something I want to talk about in regards to mental health, is one of the tools that have been most effective for me, and that I would highly recommend to anyone who suffers from any kind of mental health issues, is to get involved, get connected with a vitalistic chiropractor, especially if you're here in Chattanooga. Highly cannot recommend enough Doctors Matt and Monica Smith. So anyway, I had a free consultation, I think it was, because I signed up after the dinner. I was like, yeah, what have I got to lose? I've been in counseling, I've had medication, midnight breakdowns, calling my friends, unhealthy coping strategies that I won't get into here. And so I just thought, it can't hurt. So I go see Dr. Matt, and when we sat down to talk, he was kind of evaluating me. And at first, I almost felt like it was a counseling appointment, because I cried on him so bad. And but he was just so wise, and just really listened. And so he talked to me about the adjustments. And so I'm thinking, okay, chiropractor, crack, pop, snap, and out the door. Nothing like that. So he talks to me about the adjustments and how they're just basically just gentle touch along your spine and along some points in your nervous system. And he talked to me about how once your nervous system is optimized, then your whole body can heal itself the way that we were made, because our bodies, we have innate intelligence within every cell. We have this innate intelligence to heal and repair and to integrate and to function optimally. And I was not experiencing any of that. And so to hear that I could go through these gentle touches in such a nice, calm, relaxed environment and live my best life, recover from anxiety, I was like, yeah, okay, let's do it. Let's try it. I think I signed up for like maybe 6 weeks or something. And when I saw the adjustments and he did my first adjustment, he's like touching my spine, and he's got this cool music going, and I'm like, what have I signed myself up for? This is so hippy-dippy. But like, I'm totally adventurous too. Like, I love to try. I love to have new experiences. So, I was totally going to go for it anyway. But so during that time, I'm going to say within just about 4 weeks, I started to notice a huge drop in anxiety, and I started to be able to go out of my house for longer periods of time. I could go to the grocery store without ending up, with a heart rate of like 156. That was nice. And so just like 3 or 4 treatments, 3 or 4 adjustments in, I began to really experience the beginning of what would be a huge turnaround for me concerning anxiety and the mental health issue that I struggled with. And so I kept going, and at the time when I went to see Dr. Matt, I was on Paxil, which is an SSRI, and it's a medication that's been around for a really long time, so I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with it, how it works. Its crummy side effects: weight gain, fatigue, exhaustion, among other things. And I was also taking a beta blocker, atenolol, and I was taking these things every single day because the SSRI wasn't enough to keep my anxiety under control. And if I took more, I would end up just a complete zombie. Like, I couldn't get my work done, couldn't concentrate, wouldn't talk to my friends because I was so overwhelmed and exhausted and tired, and I just wanted to sleep. And so the beta blocker was added to keep my heart rate under control because I was so filled with anxiety and fear and panic, and it was just so uncontrollable for me that I had to have a beta blocker to keep my heart rate normal. And that has been a struggle, or had been a struggle for me for many, many years. And so between the beta blocker and the Paxil, Cosette just wasn't able to be expressed, right? I was just on so much medication that my personality, my creative passions, just, they weren't able to shine through like I really wanted them to. And so I saw Dr. Matt. I can't remember at what point I was able to come off those things. It was somewhere between 6 months to a year, maybe, in. And at any rate, I really, really, really did a lot of integration and a lot of healing. And I remember even just like 3 months, I think it was 3 months in to my treatments there, I was still on medication, but my mind was flourishing. And I knew that I needed to move, like to be able to get out, get some fresh air, and really just kind of ground myself. And so about 3 months in, I decided to go to Cloudland Canyon, and I hiked. It's like the first time I've done that since I was like 18 years old. So I hiked all the way to the bottom of Cloudland Canyon and back to the top. And that was a very huge accomplishment for me. And I actually have pictures of this on my Facebook. You can see me standing beside some waterfalls, and I'm just kind of crying because it was such a huge triumph for me. But I had really, really, really started to heal. And because I have a background of frequent trauma growing up, I had a lot of childhood trauma. I witnessed a lot of violence, a lot of death, a lot of just constantly being unsettled and trying to be safe. That would characterize my childhood. Like, that was like the theme of my childhood, was just trying to be safe because there was so much that went on around me. It was just a very dangerous and uncomfortable childhood. And so, and then even into my 20s, I had some traumas come up that were very hard to deal with. So as a person who has that kind of background, who comes from that kind of context, even after I kind of got over the anxiety, the panic disorder, I've chosen to continue to see Dr. Matt because there's still so many goals I have, and I just feel myself getting better and better all the time. I'm so much more resilient. And I think that in our culture, resilience is a must, but I also think that our lives, because of American work culture, our lives are so busy that we don't get afforded time to bounce back from even everyday normal stressors, much less serious traumas. And so what I want to encourage you about is, number one, I'm saying this as a painfully private person, number one, don't be afraid to talk about it. Okay, the struggle is real. And in your head, it's probably a lot more scary in that you're thinking people will judge you and criticize you. And I have discovered in my journey that it's not so much the case. And I have seen lately, like Chattanooga has kind of been rocked lately by people who have really struggled with mental health issues, and there have been people who have ended their journey, and that should never have to feel like an option in someone's mind. So I want to personally encourage you, don't ever sit with this stuff by yourself, okay? There's this thing called the kindness of strangers, and I see this on my Facebook feed. Lots of people that I don't really know, and then some people who are kind of like friendly acquaintances. I will see, and I'm sure you all see this too, you see it in your feed where people say, you know, if you're struggling, you can reach out to me. Okay? People who post those kind of things, they mean it, right? And so I just want to encourage you, reach out and bring those dark things into the light, because the light has a very disarming effect on the things that scare us and the things that feel so much bigger than us. I want to encourage you, in your journey, if, right now you are employing tools of medication, if that's right for you, then continue to do that. But also, I want to encourage you to look into some holistic approaches, such as seeing a vitalistic chiropractor, like the folks at Rev. I want to encourage you to don't shun counseling, right? I'm going to say within the past 3 months, I have some family as well as some friends who have struggled with some pretty dark depression, and I'm just like, why don't you go see a counselor? And they, because of stigma and maybe because of some past experiences, and because they're afraid people will think they're crazy, they choose not to seek that out. And I just want to encourage you, try it. It can't hurt. It can't be worse than sitting in silence with your demons. So yeah, I want to encourage you. I want to empower you. I want to equip you. I want to lighten your load. So yeah, just know that from my heart to your heart, I care about your mental health, and I want to see you flourish. I want to see you live your optimal life, and I want to see you empowered to the point that you don't go this thing alone. Okay? All right, so I won't keep you. I will do another video kind of soon-ish, maybe tonight if I stay on this roll. But anyway, I have some ideas in the works of how I can be a better citizen and a better member of my community, and really show up in a way for people that will empower them to connect with the things that will heal them. So stay tuned for that, okay? All right, so I won't keep you guys. It was great to be able to come on here and do a video. I hope this helps, and I will talk to you soon, okay? All right, bye.